Hi, thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to do a anime I watched video, but I want to start off with a question. I haven't done one of these in a long time, and I've just was thinking just now, about all the anime that I've been watching, and some thought, I don't quite remember what it was, went through my head about television. You know, how I don't watch a lot of TV, and I felt like I had this kind of contempt for it, somewhere in my heart. I'm like, I really look down on that a little bit, and I'm like, why is that? I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. I watch cartoons, I basically am like a 30-year-old man watching shows, animated stuff that's intended for kids, a lot of it. And here I am, am I looking down? Like, do I feel like I'm superior to, grown adults watching, TV shows that ostensibly are made for them? And, I don't know. That just struck me as stupid, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm being an idiot. But I started thinking about it a little bit. And so the question I wanted to ask was, anime. Does watching anime itself, inherently, have some kind of superiority over watching, television that was kind of created for your own culture and for mass consumption? I've talked about some of this stuff before, this, that sort of like mass culture, and, I really, I don't know, like, I feel like an argument can be made. So, one thing that I would point out is that anime, it is from another culture, basically. There's some anime that's more popular maybe outside of Japan than in. I think that Western companies, especially in its heyday when it was super popular, maybe had even some influence on how things were made. Maybe some creators consider, foreign audiences, but by and large, this is media that's created for consumption, by its culture within, its own confines. And I think even, just to approach that at all, you do have to have, kind of an open mind, and you have to confront cultural differences. You do kind of have to look at this and go, maybe there are things I don't get about this. There are things that are foreign about it, and I think you need to maybe like think a little bit outside of your own, like, your normal perspective. And, I think that that's what can be really fun and refreshing about it, too, is this is so different from the kind of things that I normally see. But I don't know, like, can there be some kind of superiority to that? Can you say, well, I watch stuff from another culture, I'm superior. I don't know. I don't know if that's a justified thing, and I don't think elitism is ever really justified. So, I guess another point that I would make is, these things, and I'm going to show off some stuff I watched today, and I think probably none of it, well, maybe one thing, raises itself very much above, the Saturday morning cartoons that I grew up with. But, this stuff is not Inspector Gadget. That was just vapid, mindless, formulaic entertainment. And, anime, a lot of the times, it goes outside of those boundaries. It kind of pushes those boundaries. People have, lists of things that I think get cited too often. I'm probably going to do the same thing just because some of those things are on the top of my head. Well, maybe this is what I'll do. I watched Snowpiercer. If you guys have seen this at all, this is it's a Korean director, and I'll put his name up here because I just don't remember what it was. He directed The Host, which I actually didn't like. But Snowpiercer was cool. I really enjoyed it. And it's funny, I was reading through comments on web pages and stuff of trying to get an impression of what other people that watched this thought of it. And there were, I should have expected this too, but there were so many people that were just like, oh, this movie was stupid and it was trash and it was horrible and nobody would do this and it didn't make any sense and blah, blah, blah. And they're entitled to their opinion. But, you know, it let me know, I guess, if you've seen the movie, what you think. But, you know, when I watch it, it was extremely thought-provoking. And even I wholeheartedly and fully agree that, you know, if you think about certain things about it, I don't think the logic in the way that this is constructed is really sound. You have to take some leaps of faith and just kind of suspend disbelief and go along with it. But, you know, it brings up kind of allegorical situations, and you sort of it really challenges you, especially at the end, because it's so intense. The whole movie is intense, and you know, it makes some faux pas. I think it tells instead of shows some things, and it just it's a flawed thing. It's not a perfect thing. But the main thing is, like, it doesn't hit the mainstream sort of, like, feel good, you know, feel better about yourself, sort of mainstream movies that you get. But it may not be completely, like, satisfying, but it gives you so much to think about. You know, if you think about the ideas that it's, you know, talking about, there's a lot to think about there. And, so that was a long way of getting around to my point that anime, I think, it can do that. It can do that even in simple shows. You know, it takes formula and it uses it to sort of bring you into a show, and then it'll shift it around towards the end and give you, like, something to think about, something the creator was wondering about, or something, you know, that they wanted to bring to it. And I think, you know, in that way, like, it can be a little sophisticated. I mean, it can be a lot sophisticated sometimes. So, you know, is there some superiority, you know, in that? You know, I mean, it's not fair to generalize, I guess, about TV. Certainly, I'm sure many television shows, you know, rise above the, you know, the reality shows and this and that I think everybody can agree are you know, pretty, like, unambitious entertainment, I suppose. So yeah, I don't know, like, I don't feel like it's really, a good trait of mine to consider myself superior in any way for my appreciation and enjoyment of anime. But is there a case to be made for that? I don't know. I would really be interested to know what you guys think. I'm now going to show off the stuff that I watched and talk about it really briefly. Some of this stuff I've been sitting on for a little while, and my memory is really quite foggy. But I did watch Gi Charat. The last two volumes here, volumes 8 and 9, and I feel bad, I should have checked before I started making this video, but I feel like there's more episodes to this. I feel like we didn't actually get the conclusion to this series, so I'll have to check Wikipedia or something, and I'll put up here if that's the case. But let's see, each of these has 8 episodes on it. Like I said, I don't remember a lot from this, but it was just more fun Gi Charat. I mean, each one of these is it's a situational comedy almost. I mean, you have the same cast of characters in each episode. They just get into some sort of weird stuff. One of the things I kind of didn't like towards the end of this series is they introduced Playongo, who as sort of a like a recurring enemy in a way, like sort of a foil to Dejiko and Puchiko. Which is fine, but, like, I felt like they kept showing up as, like, the villain of the week, and that got a little old. But honestly, I don't think that lasted for very many episodes. And then they've sort of just become involved in the general routine. So I think, you know, I actually consciously noticed that that they started doing the same style of episodes that they'd been doing before they introduced those characters. So I was fine with that. And something I didn't realize about that character, Playongo is voiced by Megumi Hayashibara. I had no idea about that, and I didn't notice until I just heard her voice, and it sounded familiar. I watched Slayers not that long ago, and I was like, no, I'm like, that can't be. And I looked it up, and yeah, sure enough, it was pretty cool. So more Gi Charat. Once I watched that, I was really on a Gi Charat kick. So I forget if I've shown this in a pickups video yet, but I picked up Gi Charat TV. This is I don't even really know what the format of this is, but this was shown previous to Gi Charat Nyo, and it kind of establishes the characters and sort of the general blueprints for what went on to, you know, later be Gi Charat Nyo. So it's cool. This is, you know, kind of short. It's like 16, quote unquote 16 episodes, but they're just little shorts. It's kind of like webisodes before the web. So anyway, yeah. So this is about an hour's worth of footage, and it's a lot of fun. It's kind of fun to see the characters in their original element. Next up is the Gi Charat Complete Specials collection. Previously, I'd watched the Christmas special, so I just went ahead and watched the rest of them. And you know, honestly, they kind of blend together. So I think I just literally don't remember anything specific from any of these episodes, which kind of makes you wonder, like, what was the point of me watching them? And maybe that's a side effect too of just sort of binge watching some of these shows. Is, you know, maybe they don't really stick with you that much. I guess I do remember the flower viewing one did have kind of a cute scene where the sort of the Gi Charat girls all stake out a claim to a spot for flower viewing for the cherry blossoms, and I guess cherry blossom viewing, and the other guys all go to get snacks and drinks, and they all kind of like fall asleep under the cherry trees, and there's like a nice sort of musical montage sequence that happens, and it's fun. It's fun to see, you know, just the music from the series. I think there are, you know, some talented voice actors and actresses that work on the series, and sometimes they do some fun songs. They're just, you know, they're goofy, silly songs that are appropriate for the series, but they're kind of fun. Next up, I watched Tatakae Iczer 1, and this is something that I was really excited to see. I really liked Iczer. What was it? Iczer Reborn, I guess. Technically Iczer 3. So I wanted to see the first one, and it's just, you know, it's good. It's not actually as good to me as Iczer Reborn. It's a little more rough around the edges. It's a little bit more about sort of blood and boobs, you know, but at its core, I think it's that same kind of fun action series, but it has a real horror series feeling to it. So, you know, if you like kind of horror sci-fi, you know, almost along the lines of Alien, I guess, only more schlockier than that. You know, not nearly as just sort of slow paced and you know, that creeping dread and everything. This is just like, let's show gore and monsters and fighting, essentially. But it's fun. I definitely really liked this. Really glad to have it in my collection. I think I talked about this before, maybe in my pickups video. I don't really remember. Next up is the whole of Dungeons and Dragons. And, you know, this might not really count as anime. It was, you know, animated in Japan. It was Toei Animation. But I guess this is like a Marvel, Comics, Marvel something, Marvel Entertainment, or Marvel Productions Limited, I guess, had a hand in making this. So, you know, I don't know if it's based on the comic books or is just, you know, something that they had the license to. So, anyway, you know, they made this cartoon, and it's really good. You know, for that kind of just an old 80s cartoon, I think it was a lot of fun to watch. Definitely, I guess this is more formulaic. I really like the formula. You know, basically these kids all get sucked into this other world of Dungeons and Dragons, and you know, there's this one kind of enemy that they're pit against that's always trying to, like, steal their magical weapons that are given to them by the Dungeon Master. And Dungeon Master shows up every time and is basically like, hey, I think I know a way that you guys can get home. And everybody's like, oh, we have to get home, so let's do what Dungeon Master says. And then, you know, somehow they end up not being able to get home, or going home and then needing to come back, or, you know, something always gets in the way. And, you know, and nothing against that kind of formulaic plot either. I actually really sort of like those kind of shows. And, you know, this just has some fun stuff to it. Every time they have, these riddles, they always talk about Dungeon Master kind of talking in riddles, but there's always something where you can take it really literally, which is just kind of weird and interesting, and just fun. It was really nostalgic for me to check out that series again, so definitely enjoyed that. That's one that also didn't sort of really wrap up, and I guess it was pretty unusual for series like that to have an ending, at the time. So there is a final episode that I guess was plotted out but never produced. And I checked it out. I pulled it up online from archive.org, I guess. And I haven't read it all yet, so I don't know exactly how that's supposed to end. But really curious to check that out. And finally, I watched volume 31 of Urusei Yatsura. So, in this one, is there anything that I really remember? I guess the main thing on this one was the last episode, I think. It was the Fox's Lonely Unrequited Love. This episode was really cool because it reminded me so much of the production on Maison Ikoku. From the music to just the way that the shots, were done, the character designs and everything. It felt a little different from everything else that we've seen in Urusei Yatsura so far. So I'm really curious to find out if from here on the series looks and feels more like Maison Ikoku, kind of going into that. I have no idea if production staff from this just started working right away on Maison Ikoku, or if there was any kind of cross-pollination there. It's entirely possible that Maison Ikoku was starting up its anime run while Urusei Yatsura was still going on here. I have no idea, but I noticed that very distinctly about that episode, and it was nice. It was actually kind of a fun, interesting episode. So anyway, that is my anime that I watched, and my question to you guys: do I get to be a snob for watching anime? I don't know. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you guys join me again.